The whole world has been chomping at the bit to hear reviews of Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey, arguably his most ambitious project to date. Before the film releases this week, without further delay, here is my opinion on this Homer adaptation. An epic with its heart in the right place. That place, however, is buried too deep. Also, Chris Nolan has been telling a version of the story for like 25 years. I'll explain. Let's get into it. Hello, my name is Acharita. In case you're new, this is the YouTube channel where you can find movie reviews, interviews, and coverage from the world's biggest film festivals. So in this film, right as the Syncope Studio logo appears, looking as if it's forged from Bronze Age metal, the outside world begins to melt away. It helps if you're in front of you is the world's most majestic screen, the IMAX 70mm. A Trojan horse appears in frame, half buried in sand on an empty beach. Soldiers on horses gallop distrustingly toward it. Reminiscent of the Statue of Liberty scene from 1968's Planet of the Apes, the dread immediately sets in. What has happened? Even without Charlton Heston's loud exclamation of how everyone is damned to hell, Nolan is telling you through incredible cinematic realism that the world is irrevocably changed. The hubris of man is in fact guiding the way to near complete misery from here on out. Nolan returns at the end of the film to how these final 24 hours of the Trojan War, these cost Odysseus more than the 10 years of siege preceding it or 10 years of being lost at sea right after. You'll find all of that out when you watch the film. The story of Homer's Odyssey is too vast to be encapsulated within one movie, let alone a movie review. And so for viewers entirely unfamiliar with the lore, the proceedings might prove a little difficult to follow, but pay close attention and soon enough you'll begin to spot characters, references and subplots you might recognize as it dawns on you how much Homer's influence has shaped literature. Lord of the Rings, Dune, Gulliver's Travels, Poseidon's granddaughter, The Little Mermaid. The word Odyssey itself has come to mean long, difficult, arduous journey. So use these little Velcro patches in the film to hold on to, and you'll find the story unfold most approachably. If you've only ever seen Chris Nolan films in terms of your pop culture consumption, well, prepare to see all Homeric influence on all his work all at once. Dom washing up alone on a beach at the start of Inception, and Moll kidnapping him and keeping him captive in her own world for years. Batman escaping an inescapable well and returning to Gotham in darkness to see the city nearly destroyed by slick, power-hungry men. His own loyalists nearly defeated as Selina, played also by Anne Hathaway, tries her best to protect the kingdom without a king. Oppenheimer's near-instant regret for being the cause of immense bloodshed around the world. Multiple stories of mankind's saviors doing their all, giving their best and then trying to return home to their children after ill-fated adventures. Tired soldiers in Dunkirk hiding inside a Trojan horse like trawler as enemies punched bullet holes in its structure and water begins to enter, threatening to drown them. We've been watching Nolan tell Odysseus' story for years.
No one could stand between me and home.
This version, now finally in its fullest form, had the opportunity to focus on what might happen once all these war-toughened heroes return, different from the men who they were when they left. Like the book, the screenplay also shows you the adventures of the titular hero through many flashbacks, cutaways, and different narrators. Narrated by Queen Penelope, the nymph Calypso, Spartan king Menelaus, the evil suitor Antinous, and Odysseus himself. So while there is a lot of showing in this nearly 3-hour-long film, there is also an immense amount of telling. There's no logical reason why Penelope, Odysseus' faithful servant Menelaus, and the mysterious mentor with Athena's eyes, they all choose to tell Telemachus stories about his father, seemingly within a few hours of each other. Basic tales of Odysseus' bravery and the origin of the Trojan War that Telemachus would have absolutely heard in the 20 years his father has been gone. But you see, it doesn't quite become a bother, because between Nolan, the main cast, Hoyte van Hoytema's IMAX work, and the Oscar-winning Jennifer Lame's miraculously incredible editing skills, the first act is breathless and rapid. Things begin to stall though as Odysseus leaves Troy, choosing to take a different route from King Agamemnon. His disastrous adventures stack up in the screenplay, and the IMAX experience soon begins to feel like an immersive and elaborate role-playing video game. Some villains are easily defeatable with cunning and teamwork, and some are super bosses, encounters with whom are bound to end in death. Odysseus approaching each, neither growing weary nor really growing as a person. While the necessary exposition earlier did not feel burdensome, here you're pining to get a deeper look inside this man and to get to know him beyond the brave war hero everyone is telling you he is. Yeah, but what else? Matt Damon, though, he delivers the performance of a lifetime. I do not exaggerate. Imbuing the Homeric hero's frame with a modern superhero personality and physicality, Damon's Odysseus will speak to viewers, current viewers, in approachable yet principled ways. A sequence with him and a giant one-eyed Cyclops alone is well worth the price of admission. It's the first time Odysseus is in the sequence, and he ought to realize that he might be dwarfed by another power in this world. He's not the greatest. This is a fact that his ego is unable to handle. Foolhardily, he shoots a useless arrow at an already blinded and hurting Cyclops, which earns him the ire of Poseidon, Cyclops' father, incidentally the king of the seas. Another episode on the island of the witch Circe is just as magical. Here, actor Samantha Morton allows Nolan to introduce elements of body horror, a first for him. Another visually stunning scene right after Circe's island involves a conversation between Odysseus and the dead, who have unfinished business. And yet, surprisingly, these portions, they don't give you an insight into internal storms brewing within the hero. The film seems content with continuing to paint him as a survivor and a winner alone, taking simply way too long to get to its proposition that wars perpetrated and carried out by men don't ever result in anything good for humanity. They instead keep you trapped within an unending cycle of hate and destruction.
Bringing it all.
Another standout acting performance is by the magnetic Himesh Patel, who plays Odysseus' second-in-command, Eurylochus. Patel has more screen time than Anne Hathaway, Tom Holland, certainly Lupita Nyong'o and Robert Pattinson. And he is a fantastic casting choice against type. His second outing with Nolan after Tenet. On that note, it is wild that Nolan's casting choices are being so hotly debated on the internet right now. People forget Odyssey and Odysseus himself are myths originating from a poem attributed to a blind Homer, which were written down hundreds of years later. Travis Scott appears as a bard in this film, singing stories in Ithaca about wars overseas. It's almost like watching how Homer himself might have woven these tales for the first time for an audience. Everyone who's translated this text from ancient Greek has adapted it in their own way, in their own time, as one must. Because again, none of this is real. Hence, historical accuracy cannot be a claim. In Nolan's adaptation, Helen of Troy is black. The second-in-command is Indian. The lone soldier left behind with the Trojan horse is a trans man. Those who have issues with this, I hope they're also up in arms about the Skyla, a multi-pronged creature who simply picks men off ships as they pass it by. Seriously, if the internet can be mad at Christopher Nolan, I personally don't feel too bad about the Dhurandhars in my comment section. It's alright, come at me. Who cares if Telemachus said things like dad or the word veteran is being used here? Hearing these words does sort of work towards closing a gap between ancient Greece and the modern world. Here, right now, untreated PTSD and war veterans and vainglorious men battling for no discernible cause are very much a reality we must contend with. Now, going back to my point in the first sentence of this video, I struggled with finding where Odyssey, the film, kept its heart amid all the action and the running about. The film felt disappointingly emotionally distant. If you're expected to empathize with this tortured man who is plagued by visions of a woman he likely murdered in battle, and also a man slowly resigning to the fact that war heroes are destined to return as beggars, they're never whole again. But then why, for the most part, it's only Ludwig Göransson's vast music score expressing these emotions? Music is amazing. Anne Hathaway elevates Penelope's character by her sheer, towering presence. But because at the end of the day, this is a Nolan film, there is not much for her to do except weep and have the occasional emotional outburst. I consider us lucky to be living in a time where a film like this comes to life in front of us. In subsequent readings and analyses, I suspect Nolan's Odyssey 2 will become somewhat of a standalone epic in its own right, a depiction of humanity as he saw it, a time capsule of movie technology available in 2026. To be a part of this moment, I'm thankful. The Odyssey is in movie theaters this week.
I think it's asleep.
For relation-made recommendation, I will keep it simple and recommend the 1946 E.V. Rue translation of the book, the revised translation later by his son D.C.H. Rue. I have found this to be a rather accessible version considering how dense the source material is. Names on my screen right now are regular members of this channel. Thank you for your continued support and your money. This month, as I promised earlier, the Serious Cinephiles Movie Club will be open to all members. So please click the link in the description, become a member, join me, and we'll spend up to 2 hours discussing the Odyssey in just a few days. Become a member now. Sharing here again an interview with Christopher Nolan and his Oppenheimer cast. And here are some more reviews for you to check out on this channel. My name is Sucharita. Thank you for stopping by.